Hello, it's Silja, and I'm back from Edinburgh, and I have had an amazing time. The city is just gorgeous with all the architecture, the history, all the literature, and the narrow alleys and the bookshops and everything. I had such a great time. We lived in the same building as the Elephant. It's the cafe where J.K. Rowling wrote part of Harry Potter. So we ate breakfast there one day, and we found Diagonal Alley, and we were walking around in the Greyfriar Kirk, and yeah, it was just having a good time. And in Edinburgh, there's a lot of second-hand bookshops, so of course we bought some books, and this will be my book haul. I have decided to divide the book haul into two parts because it's kind of a lot of books. So the first part, the part right now, will be of the books that was originally written in English and books about books. And the next part will be books written in French because I can't go anywhere without buying books by French authors. They are not in French, they are translated, but still, they are French. And also I bought a lot of poetry, so I will have poetry in the second part as well. But now let's start it with the first part. The first book I bought was kind of random. I am, among other things, a science teacher, and I really like biology. So I bought Charles Darwin, The Voyage of the Beagle. In 1831 to 1836, Charles Darwin was a naturalist on the HMS Beagle, and this is his diary. And I think this will be both interesting and kind of fun to read about his experiences around the world, trying to describe all the nature and the phenomena he sees. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. The other book is a novel that were all over the city. I can see why, because there is a populistic wind that blows across both Europe and the US right now. And that Sinclair Lewis, it can't happen here. And it's about this vain, outlandish, anti-immigrant, fear-mongering demagogue that runs for president in the United States, and he wins. So it was written in 1935. To me, it sounds like a contemporary, and I think this is a book I need to read pretty soon. Then we have Cormac, McCarthy, and After Dark. I read The Road. I think it was 7 years ago, and I thought the book was good. I liked his writing style, and After Dark and Child of God are two of the books that I'm most interested in reading. And this book is about a brother and a sister, and the sister is carrying her brother's child, and when the child is born, he goes into the woods with it and tells her that the baby is dead. But when she finds out the truth, she goes into the woods and trying to find it, while he is going out in the woods and I think trying to find her. And at the same time, there are three strangers that are following them, and they have some kind of bad plans for them, I think. So I guess this is dark and uncomfortable, but that's what I like. That's what draws me to McCarthy. Then we have a book by an author I have been curious about for many years now, but I haven't read anything by her, and that's Susan Sontag, and this is the novel Death Kit. And this is a completely new book to me. I am familiar with her other works, but this I have never heard about. But the premise sounds so intriguing that I just had to get it. It's about a man who's sitting on a train and the train stops in a tunnel. He goes out trying to investigate to find out what has happened. And there he encounters a workman. They start a fight and he kills him. Or does he? There's another girl in the same compartment and she's blind and she says that he never left the train. But at the same time, the newspapers are writing about this murder. So we don't know what's really happened. Is everything in his head or what's going on? I'm intrigued. When you go to Scotland, you have to buy some Scottish literature, and I ended up with John Burnside, A Summer of Drowning. And this book is actually set in Norway on a remote island. And it's a take on the Huldra myth. And I really like that myth. It tells about a woman who is so beautiful and she lures the men into the forest and into the underworld. So I am very interested to see how John Burnside is using this myth in his novel. I also have The Dumb House by him. I haven't read it yet, but yeah. The next book is a brick. It's Hilary Mantel, A Place to Greater Safety. And Hilary Mantel is well known for her historical fiction about the Tudor era. It's Wolf Hall and Bring Up the Bodies, and she won the Man Booker Prize for both of them, so that's great. This is an earlier work, and it's a historical fiction. And I don't read a lot of historical fiction, but this is set in Paris during the French Revolution, and the main characters are Jacques Danton, Camille Desmoulins, and Maximilien Robespierre. So I need to read it, even though it's a huge book. The next book is Pat Barker, Regeneration, and I really want to get into the trench poets, and I've been looking into the poets of Siegfried Sassoon and Wilfred Owen, but I'm not sure where to start. And then I read about this book, or this novel, in a blog post by Rachel Atkins, and this is a historical fiction set in 1917 at a war hospital in Edinburgh. And this war hospital treats soldiers from shell shock, and two of the patients are Siegfried Sassoon and Wilfred Owen. So I think this can be a good start to get an overview. And even though it is fiction, it also is based on true events. I look forward to read this, and it's also a 1001 book. Yeah, that's a bonus. The next book is also a 1001 book, and that's Ian McEwan, The Cement Garden. And I have been meaning to read McEwan for a long time now. I do have Atonement, but I am hesitant to read that book for some reason. And it has always been this book that I have been wanting to read the most. It's kind of a gothic and strange tale about 4 young children who are suddenly orphaned. And it's about the summer in their life, and they trying to deal with the circumstances and things starts to happen. And I think it's kind of weird, unnerving, yeah, a lot of greatness, I think. Then we have John Wyndham, the Midwich Cukoos, and this is classical sci-fi and a 1001 book. And this is about the village Midwich, and it's kind of a boring town, I think, but suddenly something happens and all the inhabitants just faints. And when they wake up, all the women are pregnant and they give birth to babies that are pretty extraordinary. And things start to happen. The movie The Village of the Damned is based on this book. I think it can be a very good read. The next book is a book I have had on my radar for like a year. It has gotten a lot of mixed reviews. I think like the newspapers and the critics has been quite positive, but some have been a little bit meh. But I'm still intrigued. And that's Foxlowe by Eleanor Wasserberg. And this is a coming of age in a cult. And I like cults, or no, I don't like cults. I like to read about cults. The next book is a book that I don't think counts as a book by, because I already own it. And that's Anthony Burgess, A Clockwork Orange. And you might ask, why did you buy this book when you already own it? And it's a beautiful edition. I really like this cover and I've been looking for it for a long time. So when I found it for like £3, I had to do it. Then we have the books about the books. I really like them. And the first one is also kind of random. I found it in a secondhand bookstore and I hadn't heard about the book or the author or anything, but it is Inside the Forties by Derek Standford, Literary Memoirs 1937 to 1957. And it is what it says. It is Derek Standford telling about the literary world and the literary history in this time period. And he was a poet, a critic, and an editor. And he looks back to the 1940s and talks about the changes in the literature and the literary scene. And we meet a lot of authors from that era. Then we have a book that I was super excited to find in a used bookshop because it has been on my wish list for many years and it's kind of difficult to find. And that's Henry Miller, The Books in My Life. And in this book, Henry Miller talks about the books that has formed him and inspired him to be the writer he was and also the person he became. It tells about his childhood and so it's both a memoir and a book about the books that influenced him. Last but not least, we have Azar Nafisi's Reading Lolita in Tehran, and this is a memoir about a group of women meeting every week, reading and discussing forbidden Western literature. And it's also a story of womanhood and living in a regime like Iran and all its restraints. I think this will be both educational, thought-provoking and very interesting to read about. This was the end of the first part of my Edinburgh Bookhaul, and I hope the next part will be up soonish, in a couple of days. So until then, have a very lovely weekend, read some good books and have fun. Ha det!